for spring ball in just a few months. Good night, everybody.
Coming up on BYU basketball with Dave Rose, it's our season debut here in our new studio home of Studio C. The head coach of the Cougars joins me to recap an early part of the season and a busy week with 2 in-state games on tap. Our special player guest is junior captain Luke Worthington as BYU basketball with Dave Rose starts now.
Inside, he scores with 2 seconds. It is all over. Off the dribble.
Jimmer from 40 feet. He got it!
This has been a focused group, and that's one of the reasons I'm really excited to get going with them.
Zach Sellius, he'll float it and score it. Bryant for the lead. And answer. TJ. Oh, a big shot. High-low. Oh,
this is BYU basketball with Dave Rose. Presented by Siegfried and Jensen. Live from Studio C in Provo, Utah, with your host, the voice of the Cougars, Greg Wrubell.
Good evening, Cougar Nation. Welcome inside the beautiful BYU Broadcasting Building here in Provo for our weekly hour-long look inside Cougar Hoops. We do our show in front of a live audience here in Studio C. You can be part of our crowd by requesting your free seats at byucougars.com/Rose Show. And we invite you to be a part of our conversation on Twitter using the hashtag Rose Show. We'll take your questions for Coach Rose and our weekly player guest with the Rose Show hashtag. Tonight's guest is junior forward and captain Luke Worthington, and Luke is coming up a little later on. Our show has a new look here in Studio C. Hope you like it. I'm glad to be back for another season as your host. And Coach Rose, so here we go again.
This is awesome. It's a great environment. I love the floor. Maybe we'll play a little one-on-one afterward. Great.
Fans would love to see that. Yeah.
I could back you down.
You could back me down. You can do a few things on, I think. Yeah. Well, it is great to have this thing going again. And we usually, by the time we start doing a show, you're usually a few games into the season already, so you've got a pretty good idea of what you've got on your hands.
Yeah, we've had a really competitive, first 6 games, and I think the most important thing with our guys is, we got through a lot of travel, and then I kind of feel bad sometimes when think about putting these guys through this, taking them to the East Coast twice, back and forth. But now we're in the portion of the season where it's most of the in-state games. But we've had some really good competitive games. Eli is kind of surfaced as one of our top guys. Jashir has broke into the starting lineup a week ago or so and had a great week last week. And TJ is just kind of moving on right where he left off last year. And then Yoli has been a real solid force for us. So I look forward to building this team. I look forward to competing with them. This is a big week for us. But the first 6 games, I think that the guys have really learned a lot about each other and learn how to rely on each other when we really get challenged. And that's probably the most important thing now as we continue to build, is that when we really get challenged, instead of going to your own place and trying to rely on your own physical talent, but to be able to rely on our system and what the team does best and get us out of those problems.
3 particular things come to mind, and one's even actually just an exhibition game, but winning in the pit showed something, winning at Princeton shows another thing, and then being down late like you were. We'll get to the Brooklyn trip in a second, but that last game you just played, those 3 games in particular were kind of tough it out kind of games.
Well, their resilience is really impressive, the group, and the guys are, I think most of all the teams that we've had here have been really competitive teams, but some teams have taken a little bit longer to get that first road win, and you think an exhibition game in the pit, how do you count that or how do you rate it? But when the official gave the ball to one of my players to start the second half out of bounds, he turned us over and looked at me and said, this is not an exhibition game. This is feels like it's the middle of January. And it did. It was a really competitive game, and I think it was good for our guys. And then the Princeton win was terrific. Didn't shoot the ball very well, but we found a way to kind of grind it out and get a big win. And so I like the makeup of the team. I like the way the guys are going. I wish we were 6-0 and we could be there if maybe we were a little further along, but I think the guys are doing well.
Well, the Princeton game was your second trip back east in as many weeks, really second in a week. You played in the Barclays Center Classic, but the first game you played against Alabama wasn't in the Barclays Center. It was in a smaller venue, on-campus venue at LIU Brooklyn, and here's a look at it.
Yeah, in the middle of the day, too, and that was a big issue. If I got the LIU Brooklyn job, I think the first thing I'd do is get some shades. But our guys really battled in this game, and it looked like he was getting away from us, and then we got right back to a place where we just needed a couple stops and a couple scores. Defensively in the second half, we held them to under 36% shooting, which gave us a chance to kind of come up and back in that game, but we ended up just not being able to score enough. We ended up getting beat 71-59, and their size and athleticism caused us problems at the rim.
You had 15 assists on 22 field goals, good number, but the 22 field goals, I guess, was the fact there weren't enough, really going through the hoop for you.
Well, and we had a lot of open shots that didn't fall for us, and then you try to take it to the basket, and against those athletes, it gets. But Jashir did a really good job of finishing at the rim, distributing it, and we didn't get any of our guards to the free throw line. That's a big part of how we score. Our post guys got there, but I think our guards, between the four of them, shot 2 free throws. Zach was 1 for 2 from the line. So a lot of things we can learn from that game. But the toughest thing is that with no practice, with no preparation, you turn around the next day and you got to play another one. And that's usually a game that is just, how tough are you? How together are you? How disciplined are you as a group? And we didn't shoot the ball extremely well, but we were really determined to win.
But that next day you did take on UMass, and again, the shooting numbers weren't great, but you made more free throws. Some guards took more free throws, rebounded the ball really well, especially on the offensive glass, and a great comeback from down double digits. And there's Yoli, by the way, making his first three-pointer as a Cougar.
Yeah, and I think he spent a lot of time this summer working on it. Was a good three-point shooter his senior year in high school, and that'll be an option for him in situations this year. But I think we got off to a great start. It tells you the focus of our guys. I think we were up 11-4, 11-5, something like that, and then we finished that thing off with a huge play with Shear coming off the pick and roll, and big steps up, and he drops it to Yo, and Yo finishes the game. So, and then it still wasn't over. We have a lot of issues with getting that thing in, and then having a guy heave a shot up there, and glad it came up a little bit short, and we got that win.
We're going to see that final play again in a moment, but with under 5 minutes to play, Coach, you're down 10. You outscored UMass 17-5 in the final 5 minutes. What really came together for you guys late, do you think?
Well, what I believe is that we made a couple adjustments. We got Peyton Dastrup came in, and with his size and how fresh he was, it really helped us. Gave us a lot of energy. Made a couple big passes, but made a huge putback, rebound, scored for us. Rylan Bergeson gave us some size in the zone. We went to the zone, and I think caused some problems. But for the most part, it was kind of just resilience from the players. They just decided that sometimes you execute enough to where you just kind of win the game. Sometimes I think you just refuse to lose. And in this situation, they were just going to make enough plays to try to win it.
And Peyton's minutes
There's a big putback
meaningful.
right there. Huge big putback for Peyton, and hopefully gives them some real confidence in the season moving forward.
Now, you've already played the 3 different starting lineups. Well, I wonder if we should maybe talk about that last play first of all, the dunk you got. What a great design on the play. It's a tie game, and Jashir has the ball in his hands, and this is what you get out of it.
Yeah, and there's a couple options here. A lot of it, Jashir, if the post guy stays back and go right in and finish. If the wing, collapses and tries to take it, then he can kick it to the corner for a 3. But we got the perfect scenario where he stepped up and Jashir read it quickly, and you throw it to Yo, and Yo's going to finish most of those. Yeah.
Now, Jashir is a starter for you. He's one of your 3rd different starting lineups. The first change you made was probably due to injury, as Eli got a little dinged. Then you make a second change, more tactical. You've played 3 lineups in 6 games. Do you like the 5 you've got right now?
Well, I think for the matchups this week, it's pretty good. This team might have quite a few starting lineups over the course of the season. I think that we're looking at a lot of defensive matchups when we start these games, and with the 2 guards that we were playing, 3 guards that we were playing last week, we just wanted Jashir out there to start the game because of his strength and kind of his quickness. And so we'll see what the matchups are in the post, and we think we've got. This is kind of an interesting team because I've got starters from team 2 years ago. I got starters from a team a year ago, and I got, starters from a team 3 years ago. And so I feel I got a whole group of guys that can actually prepare well. There's a lot going into when you're a starter in your preparation and the game, the practice the day before, and how you prepare to execute a game plan. And I think we got quite a few guys that are capable of doing that.
As kind of emerges in most seasons, you got kind of a natural big three emerging. Eli leads you in scoring, Yoli leads you in rebounds and blocks, and then TJ paces the team in assists right now. And each of these guys has had his moments so far in this year.
Yeah, and I don't think it's any coincidence that all three of them played on last year's team. I mean, that's the one thing I think that people kind of lose track of, is that these guys that sit out a year or 2 years on missions or for injuries or other situations. But, we were planning on having 5 of these guys back, and 2 of them aren't with us. And so these 3 have really picked it up. And just looking forward to trying to put different personnel with those 3 and find out different ways that we can play and ways that we can make this team really special.
Talk about different ways to play and win. You'd always known that you could win the higher scoring games, the high tempo games. Being able to win the grinders, though, has a lot of value, too. Winning games in the 60s. You've already won a couple of those. Last year, I think you went the whole season. You won 2 games, scoring under 70. You've already won 2 games, scoring under 70 points.
Yeah, last year's team was extremely transition-oriented, and we weren't as good executing in a half court. So that was a big challenge for us in the offseason, was to become a better half court executing team, and especially when you get in the league, because these guys, they can grind these things out pretty quick, and they're pretty good at sending 3 guys, 4 guys back and stopping your initial transition. So we've established that offensively, that we're a better executing half-court team, and that's a good thing. The second thing was to be able to guard that three-point line and make that line more of an advantage to us. And so we've changed some real core defensive principles to be able to get to the shooters. And the key is the percentages have always been okay, but they just shoot too many, and hopefully we can continue to get better at that. We're playing a lot of teams that shooting a lot of threes, and the game has really changed, and that 3-ball has become a real weapon for most teams. And so we've got to do a really good job of defending that area of the court.
Yeah, teams have shot a decent number, I think, against you in terms of percentage from the arc, but I probably guess you feel that you're defending it philosophically or schematically better. Maybe is that accurate?
Yeah, and the amount of threes that are being shot against us, I think, is a better number, and that
more manageable.
That allows us to be able to challenge the 2s at the rim, try not to foul quite so much, keep guys off the free throw line. We're doing a really good job in that area, because I think we've actually made more free throws than teams have attempted against us, which is a big number for us. So a lot of room to improve, but you can see some things that are really developing with this team that can make us a really good team.
All right, BYU off to a 4-2 start through 6, heading to our first break. And as we do, we want you to know that you can enjoy a full hot breakfast buffet dinner Monday through Wednesday, a kitchen, and a large grassy backyard along the Provo River Trail, all at the Residence Inn Marriott in Provo. When we come back, a look ahead to a pair of intense true away games on tap this week as BYU basketball with Dave Rose continues from Studio C.
Where's the cereal?
Should be in there.
I threw it out to make room for these.
Mom.
What? You have to eat more than just cereal.
But this isn't even my apartment. How'd you get in?
Listen, you can never escape a mother's love. And the answer is a crowbar.
Is that my shirt?
Yes, honey. I'm just gonna borrow it for a few days.
Get groceries without Mom. BYU meal plans. When the Sports Nation guys do a show at Deseret First Credit Union, you never know which BYU Sports VIP might show up.
That's the Cosmobile. The Cosmobile's rolling up, baby. Woo! Cosmo's here!
Hey, maybe Cosmo needs a student checking account or a soda inside.
This has already been the best in a minute ever. Ever. So bump that music, Cosmo.
Deseret First Credit Union. Proud to support BYU Sports Nation on BYU Radio and BYU TV.
I get a chance every now and then to sing with some very special people, amongst them tonight, Smokey Robinson, Patti LaBelle, and Gladys Knight. And to be able to sing with them, to collaborate with them is so, so special.
We're all friends. Tonight we get a chance to kick back with each other and enjoy, have a good time.
To sing with them, oh, come on. Who wouldn't want to be on stage with these people singing this music?
The story trick is bigger than me. It's supposed to be on TV right now. I mean, this is our 100th episode. Everything I do on the show is all completely random, but it is serendipitous. Everybody has a story.
We are back on BYU basketball with Dave Rose. Luke Worthington is our player guest on this season debut. Luke coming up a little later on. BYU 4-2 on the season. And Coach Rose, after 3 of your 6 games played in the Eastern time zone, you're now back home in the Beehive State in the state of Utah for the next 9 games.
Yeah, that's a good thing for our guys. The only thing that'll be easier about these 2 games will be the travel. The games are against good teams and and tough opponents, but we're excited. I think our guys get really excited about playing the in-state schools, and we'll play 4 of our next 5 games against the in-state schools, and then we'll play a couple big home games here before Christmas. And sometimes that's a fun time for a lot of the people that are traveling, Cougar fans that are here. They come to visit family, and and they're coming for Christmas, and we've got a couple games. We missed the students during that time because school's out. But over the years, I've had so many people say, thanks for scheduling games around Christmas, because we get to come to Provo and see a home game. So those will be tough, but we're looking forward to, maybe a couple-hour bus ride instead of a 4 or 5 hour plane ride.
Yeah. And if the fans stick around after Christmas, they'll get a couple of conference games too.
Absolutely. We got 2 home games to start after Christmas.
You hope the travel maybe toughens you up a little bit. You've gone through it already. You get to now settle in and hopefully get on a roll here.
Well, I think you don't never know what each team, how he's going to respond, how they're going to respond to home games and road games. But having it over with, I mean, you're living with knowing that Princeton came out here, and we're going to have to go back there sometime. And then the Barclays Center was scheduled 3 years ago, in a situation where we signed up for that tournament. So you didn't want them both to hit it on the same year at the same time, but we got through it, and we played some pretty good basketball. Found out a lot about ourselves. The 2 teams that we lost to, I think, are both top 10 RPI teams right now. And so hopefully, you wish you could have got those teams, but we learned a lot about ourselves. And now we're in that in-state grind where everybody knows everybody, and these games should be really exciting.
It is BYU and Utah Valley tomorrow in the UCCU Crosstown Clash. 4th meeting in the series. You're up 2-1. First ever game played on the Wolverines' home floor, the UCCU Center, tomorrow night.
Yeah, it'll be the first time for our guys. I've actually played over there a few times, coached over there a few times when I was at Dixie. And maybe, if you look in the history books, maybe the last time it was sold out was our Dixie Utah Valley game years ago. And when the place is full and all the stands are out, it's a great environment. So
forward to it.
Hopefully it'll be that way tomorrow when we get over there.
You guys played a wild one last year at your place.
Yeah, it was, and they shot it. They made 18 threes in that game, and
school record for them.
As good as I think anybody has shot the ball from the perimeter against us. Their point guard is back, who had 21 and 14 assists and 9 rebounds, and so that's going to have to be a real change for us. We've got to do a better job controlling him, and he's tough. He's a 5th-year senior, and they've actually got 3 5th-year seniors in their starting lineup. Mark's done a great job of getting old with that team by going with transfers, and his big guy AK in the middle is a 5th-year guy. And
Oklahoma transfer.
Ogby's a graduate transfer, so this is his 5th year. And then the other 2 that start, the 2 Toulsons are a missionary junior and a 4th-year sophomore. So they're older, a lot older than we are. I mean, when you just look at it, I think they're the 15th oldest team.
Most experienced, yeah.
In the NCAA, and we're tracking at about 305 somewhere with our young guys. But I know we're excited to play and looking forward to it.
Now the schools are of course close, but you're probably as familiar as 2 schools can be with each other, from the staffs to the players that have been at both places. There's a lot of familiarity going on here tomorrow night.
Yeah, there is, and I think that it should be fun for the local fans. We always talk about these in-state games and how exciting it is for the basketball fans in the state of Utah. We've kind of condensed it a little bit now, and it should be really exciting for the fans right here in the county. And it should be a really competitive game. It should be a great atmosphere. I do know that the way that they play and the confidence that Mark has in his guys, it'll be a really difficult matchup for us defensively, and our guys got to really be on it, and we got to do a much better job than we did last year.
Quick word about the 3 ex-BYU guys on their roster, a big and a couple of wings.
Yeah, Isaac's one of the, he's having a terrific season for them. He's shooting 71% from the field and averaging 9 points, 9 rebounds a game. Jake's in the starting lineup. They're playing him at the 4, which spreads that whole, your defense out because he is such a good shooter. And then Corey comes off the bench and plays some minutes at point guard. And, all 3 of those guys are older guys and, have been replaced on our squad with younger guys. And so it'll be emotional, that's for sure. Anytime you play the in-state, but especially with this situation with, players. I think that Dalton and Jake were roommates their freshman year, so they lived together. So there's a lot of, like you said, familiarity with all the players.
They began their season with what they called the toughest 24 hours. They went back-to-back at Kentucky, at Duke to open the season, lost both games, but haven't lost a game since.
Yeah, they're on a 4-game winning streak, and they close these games out pretty good. Mark, with his connection with Kentucky, having played on the national championship team there back in the 90s, and then, David Burgess, Chris Burgess, one of the assistant coaches there, played at Duke, and so they were able to put that, that trip together, and it was publicized. Mark got a lot of, just a lot of good press for his program from that. But since then, I think they've been to Idaho State and won. They've been to North Dakota and won, and they won 2 home games. So they're on a roll, feeling good about themselves and playing really well.
And they have already played 4 true away games. Now, the UVU game is the first of 2 in-state games this week. You're in Orem tomorrow, then you're up in Logan on the weekend. Again, you don't travel out of state, but, to stay in state, these are two pretty tough outings you have in back-to-back.
And Logan is always an environment that the local fans love when BYU come in. And so
you can say that. Yeah.
We'll look forward to that game on Saturday. But I think one thing is for sure, when you sign up to play at Utah, at BYU, or you sign up to coach here, there's not a lot of neutral fans.
There's one or the other here on this.
You either
thing.
love BYU or you don't love BYU.
There, by the way, Utah State's playing at Valparaiso tonight, and Valpo's up 17-15 in the first half. Part of that Missouri Valley Mountain West Challenge.
Where's that game at?
At Valpo.
Oh, is it really?
Yes, Utah State's playing at Valpo right now and down a couple in the first.
Yeah, I remember those Missouri Valley Challenges when we were in the Mountain West Conference. We
got Bradley one year, remember?
And we went to Creighton one year, and that was a tremendous game. And in fact, we were talking about that game today as a staff. Brandon Davies had kind of his breakout, finished with the last 10 points.
Closed you out that night.
And
Jackson Every went into the game not knowing if he could play with a stress fracture.
Played 33 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was the first time Creighton had lost in like 7 years on a weekday game.
They had that thing going. Yeah.
They have a radio guy like you that's got the most ridiculous stats ever. And walking out of there, one guy said, this is the first time we've lost a weekday game in 7 years. And felt even better.
That was a big one, and a big year for you guys. That was one of those early ones that made you, help you toughen up.
That was a good year and a good result from that game.
All right, coming up in our next segment, we've got one of your team captains joining us for a couple of segments. What's made Luke Worthington kind of a natural choice to help lead your team this year?
Well, Luke is a natural leader. He's got a great personality. He's able to just make friends with everyone. He's a real social guy. He's smart. And I think that it was a unanimous pick from the players that they wanted Luke to be one of the leaders, and I'm really happy for him because he's one of the real good guys in this game. And when you talk about all the student athletes that have played here, came here expecting to play 4 straight years, played a year or 2, felt like he really wanted to serve a mission, went out, served a tremendous mission in Chile, and now he's back to kind of finish it off. And he's a 3.8 student, so he's the kind of guy you want on your team and the kind of guy you want leading your team.
We're glad he's our first guest on the Rose Show this year. Coming up after the break, we'll talk to Luke. Fans, as we do head to break, we'll tell you that Utah Community Credit Union is the official sponsor of the Crosstown Clash between BYU and UVU. Every BYU and UVU game every season brought to you by your friends at UCCU. After the break, he is in Studio C. Luke Worthington visiting with the coach and me and taking your questions. This is BYU Basketball with Dave Rose.
You're watching Super Tuesday on BYU TV, presented by Siegfried and Jensen.
If I got hurt and was laid up at home, I wouldn't even think to call a lawyer. What a hassle. I'd want to meet them first.
What if I told you that for your first consultation, your lawyer will come to you, home or hospital?
Really?
Really.
They do that?
If you've been seriously injured, we'll come to you. It's your job to get better. It's our job to deal with the insurance companies and protect your legal rights.
Learn more at siegfriedandjensen.com.
Anxiety, restlessness, insomnia, fatigue, depression, weight gain. The biggest thing that patients don't understand about low thyroid is that it's usually not a thyroid problem. It's actually an autoimmune disease that's attacking the thyroid called Hashimoto's disease. For us, it's really cool to see how much of an impact we can make at Red River for these patients' health and for their quality of life.
Red River Health and Wellness can help with a treatment plan remotely or at any one of our locations.
Hey guys, do you have a smartphone? Do you have the Instagram app? Then you should be following Studio C TV. We post tons of behind-the-scenes stuff, Instagram sketches, and lots of pictures of us just having fun. So make sure you follow us.
Find Studio C on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Connect with us, we'll connect with you.
And App Envy. Watch BYU Sports Nation on BYU TV and BYU radio apps.
I didn't think that would go public.
We're playing an unselfish brand of basketball, so it's just super fun to get out there and play with those guys.
Welcome back to BYU Basketball with Dave Rose, with your host, the voice of the Cougars, Greg Wrubell.
All right, so we are in Studio C for more BYU Basketball with Dave Rose. Catch us every Tuesday evening on BYU TV and BYU Radio and use hashtag Rose Show for a chance to see your question asked during our Q&A segments on the program. Sitting alongside head coach Dave Rose, I'm Greg Wrubell. And joining us for the first time this season, we've got junior captain Luke Worthington with us. Luke, hello. Welcome. Thank you. And welcome back from your church mission to Chile, 2 years away. The team you left a couple of years ago, very different from the one you come back to. Yep. How gratifying has it been to come back into a new mix and yet feel like you're back in the mix all over again?
It's been a lot of fun getting to know the guys. It takes a while when you really want to get to know someone, and that's what I wanted to do with different people on my team. Wanted to get to know the guys individually, and I felt like over the course of the summer we grew pretty close. So I was excited to get on the floor with them and get used to playing with them, and now we're already, a decent way into the season, which is crazy to think that we're already here and we're already playing games, and that we've got still a lot ahead of us, but that we've made it. So I'm excited.
Not too many guys you already knew when you came back, though, right, from this year's group?
No, not really. I mean, between the players and coaches, there were very few people. There were a lot of changes when I left initially, and then throughout my mission, I had heard of different, transfers or changes, and every time it was either, you grow close to a lot of people, so you can occasionally get down about it and think, oh man, but then you get excited about who's going to step in, who's going to be the new person, and what new people am I going to meet by the time I get back. So,
Dave, whether with the old group or the new group, Luke fits in pretty well, though.
Yeah, and I think there's so many, just listening to him talk about that, there's so many kind of nuances that go into learning each other and then learning to practice and then to compete and then to get into real challenges and rely on each other, and you're all new guys. And that's something that I think that our guys have really adjusted to and adapted to. I think this team had a great summer, maybe as good a summer as we've had for a long time as far as the mix. The guys always work really hard, but I think as coaches we did a much better job of managing the time and then what we actually put in and had the guys do for us. And I think that has paid off a lot early, but there's no substitute for experience, and that's why we're all so excited to go. And when we had a chance to play one more game to get that New Mexico scrimmage, the exhibition game, everybody was so excited because we wanted to get going and try to learn even more of each other.
Luke, how would you describe your journey from a 2-year player to then a 2-year missionary to now coming back and maybe a modified perspective on either life or athletics, or how it's all gone for you?
It's been different than a lot of people's experience, I think. So maybe I've paved a new road. I don't know. Most guys nowadays for the mission experience are going out right away and coming back, and I think that's awesome. For me, it took a little longer to officially decide that I wanted to serve a mission, but I'm so glad that I did. It was the 2 most rewarding years of my life. I say that sincerely. I learned so much from the people in Chile and my mission president, my companions, and I'm a different person. So the mission was definitely necessary for me and my growth as a person. And now that I'm back, I feel like I have a more well-balanced attack to life because I've got my head on my shoulders and I know where I'm headed and what's most important in life. So it's been really interesting. Those first 2 years at BYU as well were a lot of learning and a lot of growth. College is no joke. There's a lot of stuff going on. You got school and basketball and everything, and it's already hard to balance. But now that I've been on a mission, I feel like I can do that even better.
And the mission, I guess, wasn't your original intent when you got here.
It wasn't really. I mean, not to say that it wasn't an intent at all. I just wasn't sure that I was going to do that. I never got pressured in my household to say, you need to go or you will go. And so for me, I thought, well, basketball's fun. I think I might prefer doing that because at that point I didn't really have a good understanding of maybe what was most important. But thanks to, I got to give credit actually to a lot of those guys on that team. There were a lot of really good examples for me. So many different return missionaries, and I'll leave names off the list, but I mean, certain guys I remember, Tyler Hawes and Skylar Halford and Nate Austin, a lot of these guys that were just really amazing people. And I looked up to them and I was excited to do something that had changed their lives so much. And then on top of that, I think the #1 influence was obviously my parents. When my dad had said something, I started to really think about it, and that's what I ended up doing, and I'm so happy that I did.
Could you see the change happening with him as you got closer to that time, Dave?
Well, what I really remember is the day he came in my office and told me that that's what he wanted to do, and he was nervous, and he rubbing his hands, and coach, this is going to be a little bit of a change, but what I don't think he realizes that I've had a lot of those meetings with players over the time that I've been here, and I was so excited for them. I think that it's when they feel that for themselves and that's what they want to do. And the one thing that you really know is that they're going to be great missionaries, and you're excited for their mission president and all the companions that he's going to have a chance to be with. And then when he came back, he was ready to dig in and be a player. And you can tell all the leadership skills that he was kind of naturally born with, developed over those years, and now he's in charge of getting all these guys straight as the captain, and he and Eli.
Yes, sir.
Now, you didn't wear glasses in here tonight. You don't play with the goggles. I'd love you to see take the Kurt Rambis angle, but you're often seen wearing eyeglasses. It's almost kind of a part of your identity now.
I guess so.
When did you pick that up? There's a decent look at.
Well,
there are lenses in those glasses, right?
There are lenses in those glasses. No, those aren't fake at all.
Are you a contact lens guy, or are you?
I'm not. So this is a situation. It's actually kind of interesting. My mom said for years, you're squinting, and I denied it because I can see fine, and I can read everything that's in here. I mean, these letters are kind of big, but I can read everything fine, but after a while, things start to get a little blurry. So apparently, I have a double stigmatism, and it really just basically means that I'm kind of like 20/30 with everything. I'm not necessarily nearsighted, farsighted. None of this is very interesting to you, but
it's all very fascinating.
Long story short, I wear the glasses when I'm studying or reading for a long time, and a lot of times when I'm on campus, they just don't come off. And for pictures, I just think they're kind of interesting or fun or funky.
Yeah, right.
So I did it my freshman year, and I was like, well, I mean, if I'm going to do that, I might as well just kind of keep it going, a little tradition here. So.
All you need to know about the look, there it is.
It's a full down.
You grew up in Mequon, Wisconsin, right?
Yeah.
Mequon. Florida's now the family home, but Midwest and Wisconsin was still, I think, kind of how we identify you. Is that fair enough to say still?
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I grew up from about 5th grade through high school there. And then when I graduated, that's when my parents moved to Florida. So home for me is where the family is. So now it's Florida, but to a certain extent, I definitely feel those Midwest roots. I'm a devout Packers and Bucks fan, and you know, I'll cheer for the Badgers and all those teams.
Getting season tickets, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, I'm on the list. Yeah. I am an official owner for the Packers, just in case you're
shareholder.
Wondering. Yes, I'm a shareholder with my brother.
Okay.
I'm very proud of that. So, me and Jerry Jones will talk occasionally.
Yeah, right. As fellow owners, yes. as you guys do. Yeah. You've started all 6 games this year. You're one of only 3 guys to start all 6 games. How do you like the way the rotations, I guess, are coming together right now?
I think we're playing really well, and we've learned a lot in these games that we've opened with. The most important agenda for all of us is just winning, and whatever people we have to have on the floor to win games is most important. We trust in each other pretty deeply. I mean, we all trust that when a guy's on the floor, when he shoots the shot, that it's going in. I trust that any guy who's on the floor is capable, because we've seen him play, and like Coach Rose said, we had an awesome summer, and I think over the summer we built a lot of trust in each other. So seeing guys occasionally get their names called who, you know, maybe didn't get so many minutes, a guy like Ryland, who all of a sudden in the UMass game goes in and gets a quick bucket for us, and he's contributing. And not for a second did I doubt, that I think, oh crap, Ryland, don't shoot that. I thought, you know, you can make those shots and you're a great player. So I'm just excited for whoever's on the floor at any time, and personally I just want to contribute in the lineup in any way I can.
Dave, before his mission, he played in a lot of games, didn't score a ton of points. He's scoring more now. You're giving him more to do as an offensive player. Yeah, well, I think that, you know, his understanding of how we want to play is pretty advanced as far as some of the other guys that are coming around. He knows angles really well, but on the defensive end, he's as good a ball screen defender as maybe we've had. But he's got a lot of confidence and take that thing right at the rim. You know, in the Arlington game, especially, one of the best shot blockers in the country, started that game with, you know, 2 quick baskets right at him, and it's confidence for Luke. And the more he plays and the more success he has, the more confidence he'll get. Luke, the comeback win versus UMass is one I'm sure you hope becomes kind of like an early season tone setter for you. Yeah. Great comeback. What did you like most, remember most, think will be the most resonant thing from that comeback win for you guys? That we came together. That, I mean, we've had a couple of games where we've gotten behind, but in that game we knew that no one guy was going to get it done for us. That we were going to have to depend on each other on the defensive and offensive side of the ball. And, you know, we hear a lot from our coaches, just do what we do. And that means do the things we know we're good at and the things we practice every day. And when we do those things, we're elite. We play really well. When we did those things in the second half of both those games on our trip, we held those teams to some pretty significantly low marks on the offensive end. And I think we're capable of doing that to any team as long as we just play the way we're supposed to play. And when we're in the right spots, things click for us. Your perspective on the game-winning play at the dunk by Yo? I was pumped. Yeah, you could probably see it. I looked like a goon. I was jumping up and down. Yeah, I was super hyped. I mean, there's just a rush that comes through you when you win games, and especially late like that, it was super exciting. How was the post-game locker room? It was good. It was good. We didn't have everyone there initially because there were a couple of guys. There's always a couple of guys who get pulled off for interviews or whatever. And, you know, I think one of the the media. I think one of the last people that came in was Peyton, who contributed a lot for us late in the game. Yep. We were super excited for him, so we said to each other, "Don't say a word when he comes in until he sits down." So we were sitting there, and we're trying to hold it back as best we could. Peyton comes in there like a fireball. He's just like, "Oh, let's go." We're just sitting there quietly, and then as soon as he takes a seat, "Yeah, Peyton!" We get up and like push us off. It was exciting. I mean, it was an exciting time. Good moment. More with Lucas coming up. Stick right where you are. Fans, whether you're sitting in the stands at the game or wrapped up on the sofa watching from home, Minky Couture is the best blanket ever and the best gift ever. Learn more at softminkyblankets.com. We've got more with Luke Worthington straight ahead. When we come back, we'll go to our live audience and social media for your questions. This is BYU Basketball with Dave Rose.
Moving your family doesn't have to be stressful. Not when you use Bailey's Moving and Storage. For 65 years, we've moved families, companies, and busy individuals like you across town and across the country. From planning to unpacking, families have trusted Bailey's for many years to be their partner every step of the way. Whether it's local, long distance, international, an office move, or more, be sure to begin with Bailey's. The official mover of BYU Athletics, Bailey's Moving and Storage. More than just a move.
When my grandfather started this company in 1947, He couldn't have envisioned what we would ultimately become. We realize that our value to our customers is that we will be there day after day, year after year, doing whatever we need to find solutions to the challenges that they face. We are committed to be honestly better in all that we do, in every opportunity that we have to serve our customers.
No matter what stage you're at in life, you're always looking to take the next step forward. At Deseret First Credit Union, we want to take each and every next step with you. With low auto loan rates, you can be ready to see what's around every new corner, and amazing rates on home mortgages, so you can move up to something you've always dreamed of. Deseret First Credit Union, with you every financial step of the way. Membership and eligibility required. Equal housing lender.
Next time on American Ride. He was one of the most powerful personalities to ever occupy the White House. Learn the tragedies and triumphs that made Theodore Roosevelt the champion of American exceptionalism and one of our most celebrated presidents.
It's largely due to his hunting prowess that the Smithsonian Institution and the Natural History Museum in Manhattan have some of their best displays.
Let's take a ride.
BYU Basketball with Dave Rose is presented by Siegfried & Jensen, helping Utah families for over 25 years.
Checking out our Cougars in the pros, former BYU basketball players playing around the world. Jimmer Fredette, the Shanghai Sharks, keeps putting up huge numbers for his team over there. Kyle Collinsworth playing in the G League, the Texas legend. All-around stat lines for him are no surprise. A couple of Cougars playing in Italy, Eric Mika and Jonathan Tavernari. JT plays a minute, makes the most of his minute, scores 5 points in a minute. I can see that happening. And Brandon Davies doing work in Lithuania. Welcome back to BYU Basketball. Dave Rose and player guest Luke Worthington is with us. Luke is a team captain and a well-respected teammate, of course. We're going to let you just watch the monitor here for a second and listen to what your players, your teammates have to say. We had a recent sit down with some of your teammates to figure out what they have to say about Luke Worthington. Let's hear.
Oh, man. All right, I'm going to say it anyways. Luke, I'm calling it a talent. He's a ladies' man.
He's a pretty big ladies' man as well as a bishop. You know, I think they like that maturity. So.
Luke is the nicest guy. He's just a genuine, down-to-earth dude.
Obviously, he's a smart kid.
He also is able to teach us in the ways that like a captain's supposed to.
He's just like a great leader.
When you hear his voice on the court, you know exactly what you got to do. And
he's just a strong guy, really good post defender, rebounds it extremely well, finishes well.
He's got a great sense of humor, and whoever he's with, he'll make you laugh.
Luke's another one of those mystery guys.
Everywhere we go, girls just stare at him. It's a blessing, it's a talent.
Mr. Steal Your Girl a couple times.
We call him Mr. Steal Your Girl.
Mr. Steal Your Girl.
Honestly, like one of the greatest guys I've ever met.
All right, those are your boys. Yep. A couple of things to make you to take out of that. Dave, what did you pull from it?
I'm going to go with Peyton's, that when he says things on the court, that everybody knows exactly what to do. I mean, he's a really good communicator. He's not afraid to, let people know. He makes a lot of calls, defensive calls, especially on ball screens. And as a staff, we just love that about Luke. He's so assertive, and the rest of the guys can respond to it.
For the record, you are not actually out to steal anybody's girl.
I'm not. I'm not. That's a false. That's a misconception. Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, we'll get to hear from you about your teammates later in the year as well. But you can tell they love you. They love you. You love them.
Yeah, I do. No, it made me smile actually watching them. I just think they're funny guys. So I was, that's nice. It's nice.
All right.
Well, a lot of nice things, I guess. I don't know.
Let's see what we have from our studio audience. We've got Brenton Farrell at the mic for a question with Luke. Hey, Brenton.
Hey guys. So Luke, what to you is the biggest difference in your game, like the biggest difference from before your mission to now? What has changed the most in those 2 years as far as basketball is concerned?
I feel like I'm able to play with a pretty good pace, a little bit more control, which is nice. I think when I get under control, when I play with the pace, I'm able to make a lot of plays around the basket and on the defensive end as well, making the calls when I feel comfortable in the system. And so I got my feet under me, and I think having those 2 years of experience and coming back, there's nothing too crazy to me about shiny lights or, you know, lots of people in the stands. So I feel a lot more controlled, I guess.
All right, Brenton, thanks for the question. Appreciate that. A regular feature of our weekly show is kind of a holdover from our radio-only days back in the day. We don't have a clever name for it yet. We call it 10 questions. and here we go. Dave knows the drill. It's time for 10 questions for Luke Worthington. You ready to roll for this?
Wow, okay.
All right. It's going to be 10 questions. Some have correct answers and some have just your answers. But here we go.
Oh, boy.
Number 1. Against which team did you score your first points in a BYU uniform?
Oh, goodness gracious. Is this counting like the preseason game?
No, it's a regular season game.
I think it would have been Long Beach State. Am I wrong?
Weber State, you scored 2 points in the season opener November 8th, 2013.
Guess I forgot about it. That's a few years ago.
Yeah, okay. Question 2. Describe the traditional Chilean dish, pastel de choclo.
That's a fascinating dish. It's like, it's this ground up corn thing, and it's got meat, and they shove all sorts of stuff in there. There's like raisins, and yeah.
Yeah, we ding. That's correct. Well done. Way to go. Question number 3. Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers are first and second on the Green Bay Packers all-time passing yardage list. Who is third?
Oh man, I don't know. Bart Starr.
There you go.
There it is.
Nicely done.
I'm an owner.
There you go. Question 4. Excluding your 2 for 3, by the way, excluding yourself, who is the most stylish player on the BYU roster?
Wow, I could take a lot of heat for this if I don't get this right. I'm going to say Yoli because I know he'd really appreciate me saying that.
Oh, what a stunner. How could that be wrong?
That's crazy.
Well, apparently it's somebody else. So, no, I like Yoli. It's Yoli.
Oh,
there
nice.
we go.
There we go.
Okay, we're 3 of 4. Question 5. Which of your teammates has a listed hometown of Boise, Idaho?
Which, as in multiple, I would assume.
Well, one's going to be truly Boise. A couple
right.
of suburban
Braden's
Boise.
a little bit outside. Braden
right.
Shaw.
Braden's outside.
And then Rylan.
Rylan Bergerson, Mr. Boise. There you go. 4 of 5. Question 6. Wisconsin is America's dairyland.
Yes.
And the #1 state for cheese production. Which state ranks second?
California.
California. Wow. Ding 'em. Bing 'em. Give him the bell on that one. 5 for 6. Well done.
I know, I'm good.
This is where that 3.8 GPA comes in, doesn't it? Question 7.
That's pretty quick.
Against which team did you play in your final game before leaving on a mission to Chile?
Final game, Ole Miss.
Yes, it is. NCAA Tournament, 2015. Yep. Actor Mark Hamill is best known for his portrayal of which legendary movie character? Actor Mark, we're getting an oh come on from the audience here. Actor Mark Hamill, best known for his portrayal of which legendary,
I don't know,
Star Wars character?
Actors.
Star Wars character.
I have no idea. Luke Skywalker?
Luke Skywalker. There we go.
There we go. There we go. I didn't even live when those movies came out.
For obvious reasons. Oh, the kids today. Okay. Question 9. Which of the BYU basketball coaches are you picking to win a free throw contest?
Oh, wow. I'm going to go ahead and say Coach Rose.
There we go. There we go. Yeah.
Ding.
Gotta ding that one.
Ding, ding, ding.
And finally, which of the players on the current BYU roster has played in the most career games?
Ooh, the most career games total, like college?
On the current roster.
Elijah Bryant?
On the current.
Oh, me?
You! Yeah!
Here, I guess. I guess that's right.
Yeah.
I was going to say total, maybe. Yeah, I guess me. Yeah.
Yeah, most career. Here we go. Here we go. Way to go. Way to play 10 questions.
Yeah, I mean the questions about myself I wasn't too hot, but everything else I think I did all right. Yeah.
All right, Luke Worthington, folks. Thanks for coming in, Luke. After the break, your questions for Dave Rose from the audience and Twitter. This is BYU Basketball with Dave Rose.
You're watching Super Tuesday on BYU TV, presented by Siegfried and Jensen.
With the BYU license plates, no matter where you are, you show your Cougar spirit, and you make it possible for students to get an education. The donation you make when you get the license plates goes to support BYU scholarships. So whether spreading Cougar pride coast to coast or getting to the big game, you're also funding scholarship opportunities for BYU students.
Learn about free special plates today at alumni.byu.edu/plates. The BYU Sports Nation guys check out the BYU store. Hey, before you hit someone with that football, take a look around at all the great BYU gear from Nike. Hoodies, exercise wear, sweaters, t-shirts, all the stuff an active sportscaster needs. Spencer, that one is actually for your better half. No, not Jerem, your wife. The BYU Store, keeping Jerem and Spencer looking great, and proud to sponsor BYU Sports Nation on BYU TV and BYU Radio.
We're playing an unselfish brand of basketball, so it's just super fun to get out there and play with those guys.
Welcome to the family.
Social media, hashtags, internet, what? These are some super confusing things, but all you need to know is that Studio C is on YouTube, and we are always releasing new videos. Subscribe to see all the cool stuff we're going to be doing next.
Find Studio C on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Connect with us, we'll connect with you.
Bringing it across the timeline. 7 seconds left. Gets a screen from Dastrup. The dish. The dunk from Yoli Childs.
That's our exciting play of the game, presented by Nissan, a proud partner of the BYU Cougars. Nissan, innovation that excites. We are back on BYU basketball with Dave Rose here in Studio C. Dave, we talked about it a bit earlier, but how nice to get a wide-open dunk to win a game out there in Brooklyn.
Yeah, we had a nice play called, and I was expecting that we'd probably get the corner three, but Jashir read it perfectly, and you know I get quite a few texts after big wins, and there's people, mostly all my friends, that have something interesting to say, but I think the most interesting thing, the text that had multiple texts, was when was the last time BYU had a game winner on a dunk, and I have no idea, but
I don't think I called one.
Maybe you want to look. Maybe you want to look into that.
Among the game winners that I think about McKelly Wesley late in the Hawaii game years and years ago, and I think about Tyler Hawes on a baseline one-footer to beat Texas late.
Santa Clara, he beat Santa Clara late
in the WCC tournament late. So, but dunks, yeah, I don't. Nothing came to mind. It sure was fun to see. I'll take it though, right? Yeah. Take a dunk anytime.
You were a long ways away, but
I was tuned in.
You're right next to us, and we can hear you celebrate.
I was watching and listening and celebrating in my hotel room in Honolulu. Another carryover from our previous version of this show is some Cougar Nation Q&A with the head coach of the Cougars, and we've got live audience and Twitter questions ready to roll. And we'll start this week's Q&A right here in the studio. Austin is at our mic. Hello, Austin.
Hey, Coach. Just want to know if there's anything special you do to help prepare some of the players for the next level.
Well, I think that that's an ongoing process, really, from the day that they get here, and I think that's probably the most exciting thing. Well, there's a lot of things, but one of the really exciting things about having the annex here is that it allows these players 24/7 access to be able to improve their game, which will obviously help us at BYU. But I think that there's a lot of things we do in the summer that really helps them kind of develop a game, that the kind of the skill set for the NBA, and then a lot of things that we're doing in our half court this year, I think will really help our guys at the next level. But it's a lot of work, and the guys who make it, have spent a lot of time doing it.
All right,
putting the time in.
More Q&A with Coach Rose coming up after the break. This is BYU basketball with Dave Rose.
160,000 miles. That's, on average, how often you'll use your car insurance. But what if you could get help with more often? And you could also save a couple of bucks on clothes or at restaurants. Skip the line at the DMV. Even get rescued roadside. You can when you're a member and your insurance is AAA. Insurance that's not just insurance.
the semester.
I thought I was going to die.
He did seem to have
Some problems.
stressed and worried.
Everything's like... And then I met her.
Phone calls a couple times a week.
Pretty much daily. She's really great.
It's just been good for both of us, I think.
My name is Josh.
My name is Sarah.
She's my tutor.
And we met online, but it's not what you think.
And App Envy. Watch BYU Sports Nation on BYU TV and BYU radio apps.
I didn't think that would go public.
BYU Basketball with Dave Rose is brought to you in part by Nissan. Innovation that excites.
All right, this week it is BYU at Utah Valley on Wednesday. Pre-game coverage on the BYU Sports Network at 8 o'clock Eastern. Live on BYU TV and, of course, radio post-game coverage, TV and radio. Then Saturday, we are in Logan for BYU and Utah State, 8 o'clock pregame Eastern on the BYU Sports Network radio. The game can be seen on AT&T Sportsnet Rocky Mountain. So there we've got you covered, TV and radio. The Cougars, the Wolverines, and the Aggies this week. Tune in.
You're watching Super Tuesday on BYU TV, presented by Siegfried and Jensen.
If I got hurt and was laid up at home, I wouldn't even think to call a lawyer. What a hassle. I'd want to meet them first.
What if I told you that for your first consultation, your lawyer will come to you, home or hospital?
Really?
Really.
They do that?
If you've been injured, we'll come to you. It's your job to get better. It's our job to deal with the insurance companies.
Learn more at siegfriedandjensen.com.
Nailed it.
What's up with all the textbooks?
I'm on a wait list for some of my BYU classes, so I decided to use my textbooks in a more, creative way.
What if you get in?
They'd probably still get in the way of my intense skating regimen.
Well, you could just take some of your classes at the BYU Salt Lake Center. They have smaller classes once a week, daytime or evening. And since it is part of BYU, you could take classes in both places and make your own schedule.
Do you speak Spanish?
Katrina hit. We kind of knew, I think a day after, 2 days after, that our home was flooded. We evacuated and we were homeless for about a year and a half.
Bike and Build is a ridiculous and challenging journey, all for a really important cause.
Your whole world is different when you have a child with autism. The things that you previously worried about are unimportant, and that's a gift. You know, you just figure out what is important and what isn't.
You may not know this, but Studio C has a YouTube channel, so you should go subscribe and see sketches, behind-the-scenes footage, and lots of other fun stuff that I'm pretty sure you're going to want to be a part of. Think about it. Think about it.
Find Studio C on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Connect with us, we'll connect with you.
We are back to say so long on BYU basketball with Dave Rose. Coach, we're off and running. Good luck this weekend.
We're excited about these in-state games.
All right, it's the Aggies and the Wolverines in reverse order. We'll talk to you next week on BYU basketball. Dave Rose, 8 o'clock Eastern next Tuesday night from Studio C. For the coach and Luke, I'm Greg Grubel. So long.
I went to BYU with the intention of finishing my degree. Along the way, things got a little bit busy. I always had that idea that I was going to go back, but as a non-traditional student, I just felt that that opportunity was not going to happen until I explored what BGS really offered. The BGS program gave me more flexibility and gave me the education that I wanted. As I was walking to the podium, it was almost surreal. I don't regret getting my degree through BGS.
Your whole world is different when you have a child with